आज मिला था धरती के सबसे पुराने मानव नर्मदा मैन का जीवाश्म। आज नर्मदा के किनारे हथनोरा में मिला था मानव का सबसे पुराना जीवाश्म सीहोर। जब विश्व भर में छात्रों को मानव सभ्यता के इतिहास के बारे में पढ़ाया जाता है तो सबसे पहले जिक्र होता है हथनोरा का, जो नर्मदा नदी के किनारे बसा हुआ एक गांव है। इस गांव के साथ ही जिक्र होता है सीहोर जिले का, फिर मध्य प्रदेश का और साथ ही भारत का। आज ही के दिन यानी 5 दिसंबर 1982 को एक महत्वपूर्ण खोज हुई थी, जिसके बाद विश्व को पता चला था कि मानव की उत्पत्ति यहीं से हुई है। इस प्राचीन मानव को वैज्ञानिकों ने नर्मदा मानव नाम दिया। इसके बाद अब तक दुनिया में कहीं भी इससे पुराना मानव जीवाश्म नहीं मिला है। इस खोज के पूर्व माना जाता था कि आदि मानव की उत्पत्ति पूर्वी अफ्रीका के तंजानिया अंतर्गत ओल्ड वाईगाज नामक स्थान पर हुई थी। भारत, मध्य प्रदेश और सीहोर का नाम विश्व पटल पर अंकित करने का श्रेय होशंगाबाद के सिवनी मालवा तहसील के हिरनखेड़ा गांव में जन्मे जियोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया के डॉक्टर अरुण सोनकिया को जाता है। इस खोज में देश दुनिया के दिग्गज जुटे हुए थे और आज भी जुड़े हुए हैं। हालांकि डॉक्टर सोनकिया अब नहीं रहे, लेकिन उनकी ये खोज उन्हें अमर कर गई। उनकी मौत 19 मई 2018 को एक सड़क दुर्घटना में हो गई थी। इतिहासकार और साहित्यकार पंकज सुबीर ने बताया, ये सीहोर जिले के साथ पूरे भारत के लिए महत्वपूर्ण खोज है, जिसके बाद विश्व पटल पर भारत का नाम हुआ है। और हमारा मानना है कि नर्मदा नदी और गंगा नदी से भी पुरानी है। साथ ही कहा जाता है नर्मदा घाटी की सभ्यता सिंधु घाटी से भी पुरानी है। ये सब इसी के प्रमाण है, जिससे हमारा इन तथ्यों पर विश्वास बढ़ता है। नर्मदा मानव को खोजने वाले डॉक्टर सोनकिया विश्व के पटल पर उनकी मानव जीवन, भारत में नर्मदा किनारे की खोज हमेशा जीवंत रहेगी। नर्मदा घाटी में जीवाश्मों में हाथी, घोड़े, दरियाई घोड़ा, जंगली भैंसों के जीवाश्म के साथ सीहोर के हथनोरा में 5 दिसंबर 1982 को 70,000 वर्ष पुराने मानव के कपाल अवशेष खोजे गए। हथनोरा में नर्मदा तट पर खुदाई से मानव कपाल निकाला। प्राचीन मानव को वैज्ञानिकों द्वारा नर्मदा मानव का नाम दिया गया है। हथनोरा के सामने के धांसी और सूरजकुंड में नर्मदा के उत्तरी तट पर प्राचीनतम विलुप्त हाथी स्टेगोडान के दोनों दांत तथा ऊपरी जबड़े का जीवाश्म भी उन्होंने खोजा। डॉक्टर सोनकिया की खोज में यह स्पष्ट हुआ था कि अफ्रीका में नहीं, भारत में मानव का जन्म हुआ। हथनोरा गांव से आदि मानव के कंकाल मिले, जिसमें खोपड़ी का भाग मिला था, जिसका आकलन ESR, जिसे इलेक्ट्रॉन स्पीम रेजोनेंस डेटिंग पद्धति कहा जाता है, उससे किया गया था, जिससे ज्ञात हुआ था कि यह कंकाल करीब 3,50,000 वर्ष पुराना है। नर्मदा के किनारे से शुरू हुई मानव विकास की कहानी। नर्मदा के किनारे से मानव विकास की कहानी भारत में शुरू हुई, जिसे भूविज्ञान के छात्रों को पढ़ाया जाता है। डॉक्टर अरुण सोनकिया की खोज से पहले आदि मानव की उत्पत्ति की जानकारी पूर्वी अफ्रीका के तंजानिया अंतर्गत ओल्ड वाईगाज नामक स्थान से मिलती रही है। भारत के बाद आदि मानव चीन से आगे जाने के साक्ष्य मिलते हैं। सोनकिया ने 5 दिसंबर 1982 को एशुली औजार और मानव समखोपड़ी लगभग 30 वर्ष की महिला का जीवाश्म खोजा था। इसके साथ ही नर्मदा घाटी में जीवाश्मों में हाथी, घोड़े, दरियाई घोड़ा, जंगली भैंसों के जीवाश्म भी मिले हैं। धांसी और सूरजकुंड में विलुप्त हाथी स्टेगोडान के दोनों दांत तथा ऊपरी जबड़े का जीवाश्म भी उन्होंने ही खोजा। उनकी सफलता और अनुभव की उनके बेटे सिद्धार्थ और श्वेता सील ऑफ सोल नाम की पुस्तक में लिख रहे हैं। डॉक्टर शशिकांत भट्ट ने भी किया जिक्र। डॉक्टर सोनकिया की इस खोज का जिक्र डॉक्टर शशिकांत भट्ट की पुस्तक नर्मदा वैली कल्चर एंड सिविलाइजेशन में भी किया गया। इस पुस्तक में नर्मदा घाटी की सभ्यता के बारे में विस्तार से उल्लेख मिलता है। इस किताब के अनुसार नर्मदा किनारे मानव खोपड़ी का सबसे पुराना जीवाश्म मिला है और इससे यह खुलासा होता है कि यहां सभ्यता का काल कितना पुराना है। यहां डायनासोर के अंडों के जीवाश्म पाए गए तो दक्षिण एशिया में सबसे विशाल भैंस के जीवाश्म भी मिले हैं। 1988 में विश्व स्तर पर किए जा रहे रिसर्च हथनोरा के पास नर्मदा घाटी में मिले पुरातन मानव के फॉसिल जब मिला था तो उसे पहले ये माना गया कि ये इरेक्ट्स का कोई फॉसिल होगा और ये होमो इरेक्ट्स नर्मदेंसिस के जीव वैज्ञानिक नाम से प्रसिद्ध हुआ। 1988 में इसका अध्ययन शुरू हुआ। पहला अध्ययन फ्रांस के मार्सिली स्थित लैबोरेटरी ऑफ ह्यूमन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में और दूसरा अमेरिका के इथकास्टिल कॉर्नेल विश्वविद्यालय में हुआ। इस पर अब तक कई तरह के रिसर्च किए जा चुके हैं जो डीएनए के आधार पर किए जा रहे हैं, जिसमें इस जीवाश्म को 3 लाख से 9 लाख साल पुराना बताया जा रहा है। इस पर कई तरह की बहस भी की जा रही है।
Our knowledge of human evolution or about our primitive ancestors in this part of subcontinent, the Indian subcontinent, does not go beyond Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, the localities which are now in Pakistan. There are evidences now that our ancestors evolved in this part of the land and this part of the country, this part of the state, in our river, one of the most sacred rivers, that is Narmada. Humans might have evolved in Africa, as has been proved by the number of human fossil bones discovered so far in Africa, maybe 18 lakh year old. But when the species spread throughout the world, it established several regional centers. One of them was in India. So we have been able to discover the first and oldest human fossil of this subcontinent from a small village called Hathnora, falling in the Sirhat district of Madhya Pradesh, somewhat 80 kilometers southeast of Bhopal. It's a well-studied fact that the humans evolved in East Africa some 18 lakh year old ago. That time, after the establishment of species Homo erectus, they must have spread throughout the world, and India was not an exception. And this particular discovery of the human fossil from Hathnora in Narmada Valley proves it, that man did not migrate from any part of the world to India. They evolved and flourished in this part of the country. Now comes the question of identity. Who are we and what are we? So in the biological classification, or so to say precisely zoological classification, we the humans of modern days are classed as Homo sapiens sapiens. Sapiens means intelligent, Homo means man. So we have been classed as Homo sapiens. We have evolved from our primitive ancestors who are known as Homo erectus. Homo erectus were actually the humans which could first stand erect and balance their neck on the spine. They were known as Homo erectus because they could stand erect and they could walk on 2 legs, which gave rise to bipedalism. That means they could walk freely on 2 legs, and their hands were thus made free for any other manipulation or activities. We humans are, as per the zoological classification, are put in the animal group of primates. Primates are actually those animals which have retained the most primitive characters. Amongst the primates, we get lories, tarsiers, apes, and man, also the monkeys. Apes are our nearest relatives biologically. So, to imagine human evolution or the evolution of the primates as such, let us imagine a tree with branches going upwards. So first, from this particular stem of primates, the monkeys separated out. The monkeys, as you know, have tails and claws. In subsequent times, the apes separated from the stock of primates. Apes include orangutan, chimpanzee, gorilla. So somehow these apes are confined to either Africa or Southeast Asia. In subsequent time, say about 4 million years ago, humans separated from the primate stock. So that's why the humans are closer to the primates. So the major evolution, actually we find lot of evidences in Africa, particularly the East Africa, where human and pre-human fossils, that means relics of bones preserved in rocks, have been discovered. In Africa, humans as old as human fossils as old as 18 lakh year old have been found from Olduvai Gorge and some other areas. Subsequently, after the stabilization of the species, this particular variety, which was known as Homo erectus, spreaded throughout the world, and this confined to some centers in Europe, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Eastern China and India too. Homo erectus appears to have evolved from Australopithecus. Australopithecus actually evolved about 4 million years ago, and the major difference which the Australopithecus had with the Homo erectus, that the Australopithecus did not have speech because there was no development of the chin in the Australopithecus. So this chin, particularly which we find in humans, is a evidence of evolvement of speech. So the Homo erectus had the development of chin, so it could speak, whereas the Australopithecus, it had all the physiological qualities which the Homo erectus possessed, but it could not speak. Out of the gracile variety of the Australopithecus, it appears that the Homo erectus evolved. In course of evolution, things change, not drastically, but gradually, sometimes punctuated with some other developments. So with evolution, certain changes are brought about. Actually, this can be told that those changes also tell you how you are different from the nearest species. So if we say how the humans are different from the apes, and that splitting of lineage carried forward in time and brought us to this stage in course of evolution. Following, I should say, these changes were brought in, which could be listed as, first and foremost is the enlargement of brain. How it happened? In fact, all apes are quadruples, but humans are biped. This bipedalism, this particular faculty, this phenomena gave rise to the most important development in human evolution, is that we got prehensile hands that were free for manipulation of activities. So that manipulation exerted pressure on our brain and it had to grow. Body could produce the same mass of bone to form a skull. So initially the human skull was having very thick bones. The skull was flat and it was slightly tapering upwards. With evolution, the same skull had to accommodate a larger brain. So gradually the human skull grew bulbous. So our forehead, which was slanting similar to the apes, or gently sloping forwardly like apes, became gradually vertical. This all happened by the sides and back part of the skull. The occipital hole which connects the spine to the skull now with evolution connects in the middle of the skull. So that gave rise to perfect balancing of the skull on the spine. Our forelimbs, hands I should say, grew slightly smaller. Our thumb went closer to the fingers for a better grip that you do not find in apes or monkeys. Our lower vertebrae became more strong. Our pelvic became broader to keep the baby for 9 months, and that's how the developments evolved. Actually, this all began with the theory propagated by Charles Darwin, the British nature scientist, that when he told that man evolved from man and apes and monkeys, we all evolved from a common ape. So he actually wrote a book on the origin of species, and this particular theory was part of that. And he told that now we should be able to find the bones which could conclusively prove that the apes and man had a common ancestor. That means you find a human skeleton or skull which has characters of both. So many people were very much impressed, particularly Thomas Huxley propagated this particular theory. So one Dutch doctor by name Eugene Dubois, this story goes in 1859 or so. There was one Dutch doctor, Eugene Dubois by name, and he was very much impressed by he was a physician. So he was very much impressed by the theory given by Darwin, and he wanted to virtually get those particular relics. So Darwin had told that Africa is the best place because in the middle latitudes, 0 latitudes, where the climate is slightly warmer, man is little warm loving animal, there the chances of getting the fossils of man are more. But Africa was not practically accessible in those days. So he went he joined American Army and then went towards Indonesia. This was actually the Dutch colony. So knowing his passion for collection of bones, his colleagues let him free for locating, searching the human bones, which could link the man and apes. Luckily, in 1892, he could discover some human bones, particularly the skull, straight femur. He could locate, and that had the characters both of man as well as the apes. This was in 1892 or so. Later on, he continued his activities, but before going to Indonesia and before returning back from Indonesia to Netherlands, Eugene Dubois did not forget to pass via India, because he had earlier heard that India was the cradle of man and it had a highly developed society in earlier times. So he could not resist going by India. But he went via foothills of the Himalayas, and after getting the human fossils in Indonesia, he returned back by the same route, and after reaching Netherlands, he declared that the Oriental myth that the India was cradle of man is now thrashed, because he could find the missing link which could connect the man with the primitive apes, or because the fossil of common ancestor he had already found. This is mentioned in a book by Hakleka in 1930, published in Smithsonian Institute. After these particular discoveries, which were the first discoveries of human fossils in the world, it so happened that a human fossil was discovered in the Narmada Valley almost in the same year, but somehow this was subsequently lost and it could not be described, neither it could be photographed. So we do not have any information about that particular fossil. In 1923 or so, then the human fossils were discovered in China. There is an interesting story that some medicines were being prepared after grinding some teeth. So one tourist asked where from the medicines you get. Then one Chinese took him to some caves near Beijing, and there he found that, oh, they are the bones and tools and molars of primitive man. So that's how the Peking man was discovered. They were younger than in age compared to the Indonesian ones. Indonesian humans were about 10 to 12 lakh year old, and the Chinese were 6 to 7 lakh year old. Then the story continued, story of discovery continued in Europe also. Europeans felt, why human fossils have not been located in Europe? It's close to Africa. So then, in the first half of the 20th century, there were many discoveries, let's say from Heidelberg in Germany, Arago in France. So there were many discoveries of human fossils from Europe. But the Europeans kept their identity, they wanted to keep their identity separate. So that particular subspecies of man was named as Neanderthal, because the first fossil of Europe of early man was found in Germany in Neander Valley. The Africa and Asia are known as old world continents, and America, Australia, they are known as Antarctica, etc., new world continents. So surprisingly, there are no human fossils practically in the new world. America, South America, North America, as well as the Australia, particularly North America and South America, are devoid of any human fossil. In Australia, however, some human fossils have been found which are 40 to 45,000 year old. The Indian subcontinent is having many river valleys, and many river valleys are full of Paleolithic implements dating to Middle or Lower Paleolithic times. But this is agony that the man who created them, who made these Paleolithic tools, we do not get any fossil of the man. So I was assigned a topic for collecting the bones and fossils of the quaternary mammals, that is, the mammals which used to live in the central part of Narmada Valley between 5 to 15 lakh year old period, to collect their fossils and classify them. So during that process of collection of fossils, I was highly demoralized when, after reaching Hoshangabad and taking traverses in the surrounding areas, I didn't come across any fossil. Well, in the literature, of course, I was reading a lot about the fossil localities, and I came across a name, Hathnora. So I guessed Hath means Hathi, Nara means face. So I must get some fossil of elephant in this particular village, which is situated on the northern bank of Narmada. So when I reached the village, I inquired the villagers, as we generally do we get the bones of old animals here? Then a man came forward and told, what to talk of animals, we get lot many bones of the men's also. So I was very much happy that I may be able to discover the first human fossil of the subcontinent from this village. So later on I was told that poor people are buried in the sand, they are not cremated properly. So when there is the animals scavenge their fleshes of those dead bodies and bones roll about. So when these skulls are found, some people try to cook rice etc. in those empty skulls to get extra energies. So that was a sort of just story. Anyway, I was moving towards the quaternary gravels, I mean the cemented sort of gravel bed of the quaternary period in the Narmada river channel. So I could locate a very big horn core and then started excavating, and to my amazement I got a very beautiful skull of a bovid, a cattle. I kept the laborers engaged in excavating, and I had a leisure time to move about on the gravel platform of the river. It was very cool and peaceful time, of course, of the winter at about 12 o'clock, and I could locate a circular bony object about 8 or 10 inches in diameter and very thick. Then it just clicked to my mind that it has to be a human fossil skull. So before the villagers could get alert, generally what they were doing, if they get some bone, they will crush it. So I avoided excavating that because I thought I may not be able to excavate this bone by the evening. So I sat on the spot for a couple of hours and left the place. Next early morning, I came with many laborers and with picking tools and started excavating a sort of trench about a meter apart in a circular form away from the skull. With the vibration of those tools, the human skull just came up. Oh, it was delight. It was the light of the life that when I lifted the block, it was substantial, it formed substantial part of a human skull, primitive human skull. It was taken to laboratory in Nagpur. It was very carefully cleaned grain by grain, but we did not disturb the inner cavity of the skull because if we clean that, the skull will crumple. So then after studies we came to know it had sloping forehead, broader base. The skull bone was 3 times thicker than the modern man, and the internal cranial capacity was 2/3. Modern man has got 1450 to 1500 cubic centimeter cranial capacity that we measure with the help of the rye grains or water, generally not used, but we use rye grains for measuring the internal cavity. The eyebrow ridges are massive like telescope, and it has got wider eyes, wider ear hole. So these faculties were much more developed during those times. So then the studies were carried out comparing the Narmada skull with the ones found in Africa, Europe, Asia, China and Indonesia. So we came to know that this particular Narmada human fossil skull Homo erectus skull is closer in characters with the South Asian counterparts from Indonesia or to some extent China, but it differed little bit from the human fossils found in Africa and Europe. So the most important point here is the strategic and critical location of the Narmada human fossil, that it is located midway on the globe between the African and European human fossil localities towards the west and Chinese and Indonesian human fossil localities to the east. So if someone wants to correlate the human fossil evolution from east to west, nobody can ignore India. Now I have been generally asked, how old is the strata from which this fossil has been excavated? So the peculiarity with this fossil is that its dating cannot be wrong, because we have excavated it in situ from as it was embedded in the rock. So we have got two bases. We cannot use carbon dating because it has got its own limitations of 40,000 years. We didn't get any material on the basis of which we could do uranium thorium dating. But we have got two tools in our hand. One is Fresnel, other is the paleomagnetic. The stegodons, the long tusked elephants, and the Sus nomadicus, a variety of pig, they existed up to the Middle Pleistocene. So to say, they are the primitive animals, but they are never found during the period after 6 lakh years or 5 lakh years. So that's one basis, and another one is that the layer just below the layer in which the human fossil was found, known as Dhansi formation, it has got magnetic polarity reversal. So that is dated around 0.76 million years, that is 7,60,000 years. So keeping the gap for the erosion of the upper bed, the Narmada fossil can be dated around 6 to 7 lakh years old. In quote Dr. Sankalia and Dr. Wakankar, who once said that we have been getting Paleolithic tools and tools, but now the discovery of human fossil in the subcontinent has held our head high, because now we know the shape of man who made these Paleolithic tools. So it takes time, longer time, to establish such type of discoveries. When you say it has happened, it's very difficult to get the recognition, and it is actually the work of younger generation to get into the river valleys whenever they go on traverses, walk around and discover more and more human fossils with their enthusiasm. If I am able to discover a human fossil in the Indian subcontinent, the younger generation can discover so many.
नन्हे नन्हे प्यारी जान, पढ़ेंगे लिखेंगे तभी तो बनेंगे भारत की पहचान। चिल्ड्रन, द फ्यूचर ऑफ कंट्री। एडमिशंस ओपन हो चुके हैं पुष्प विद्यालय आष्ठा में। क्लास नर्सरी से क्लास 12वीं तक एडमिशंस ओपन। सीबीएसई एजुकेशन, बच्चों के सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए कन्नौद रोड आष्ठा पर स्थित पिछले कई वर्षों से संचालित एक ऐसा विद्यालय बच्चों को गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा प्रदान कर रहा है। पुष्प सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल आष्ठा, जहां आपके बच्चों को मिलेगा चाइल्ड फ्रेंडली वातावरण, जहां क्वालिफाइड शिक्षकों के द्वारा दी जाती है खेल खेल में कंप्लीट एजुकेशन, साथ ही कई अन्य एक्टिविटीज जैसे डांस एक्टिविटी, प्ले एक्टिविटी, ग्रुप डिस्कशन, मोटिवेशन स्पीच, डिफरेंट स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटीज, यानी पढ़ाई भी, खेल भी और पर्सनालिटी डेवलपमेंट भी। पुष्प सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल लाया है बेस्ट क्वालिटी की बायोलॉजी लैब, फिजिक्स लैब, केमिस्ट्री लैब, लाइब्रेरी, सुसज्जित कंप्यूटर लैब, बड़ा स्पोर्ट कैंपस, आरओ वाटर और बच्चों की सुरक्षा के लिए सीसीटीवी सर्विलांस, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस। तो बच्चों के सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए पहुंचे कन्नौद रोड पर स्थित सबसे सर्वोच्च विद्यालय पुष्प सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल आष्ठा। एडमिशंस ओपन हो चुके हैं, तो देर ना करें। बच्चों के सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए चुने एकमात्र स्कूल पुष्प सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल। सीहोर न्यूज दर्पण की लोकप्रियता को ध्यान में रखते हुए सीहोर न्यूज दर्पण परिवार का विस्तार किया जा रहा है। अब सीहोर न्यूज दर्पण केवल जिले तक सीमित ना होकर संपूर्ण मध्य प्रदेश में प्रसारित किया जाएगा। सीहोर न्यूज दर्पण बहुत जल्द नए अंदाज में, नए कलेवर के साथ एमपी दर्पण टीवी के नाम से प्रसारित होगा। मध्य प्रदेश के समस्त जिलों से, तहसीलों से और ब्लॉक स्तर से संवाददाता हमसे जुड़ने के लिए सादर आमंत्रित है।
खबरों में अपडेट रहने के लिए सीहोर जिले के सबसे लोकप्रिय चैनल सीहोर न्यूज दर्पण को लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को क्लिक करना ना भूलें।